Join the program. Let your worries unfold. Listen and share. It never gets old.
Good morning and welcome to the Helpers Hour on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, the Nextdoor Radio app. I am very excited to be joined by Kim Charette today from Hope Reigns. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning, Kelly.
I am so excited for everybody to hear about Hope Reigns. I have known about your facility for a long time because I've driven past it so many times.
Yep.
Until I visited, I didn't fully understand everything that you're doing out there.
Yep.
And I am just elated to be able to get this out on the radio, make sure that everybody is able to understand everything that you're doing. I want to start with kind of a background. You can tell me or tell us a little bit about yourself or how Hope Reigns started, sort of the history, whatever feels good for you today.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me. So Hope Reigns actually started a long time ago. When I was a little girl, I grew up in Ohio in an upper middle class home that looked really great on the outside, but my father was an alcoholic and very abusive, and I just never knew safety as a little girl. And if any of your listeners live in any sort of, addiction environment, it's very shameful and it's very hidden, right? And we were never allowed to talk about it. And for some reason, God brought me a horse. My dad bought me a horse, probably because it looked good, I think. But that was really my comfort and my safety. Like, I have so many memories of being in the barn and just really my horse being the only thing I ever poured my heart out to and really shared with what was really happening in my life. So I kind of know what it's like to be comforted by a horse in the midst of trauma. And that was a really powerful bond and connection. And so many years later, through a career in business and marketing, God really led me to start Hope Reigns here in Raleigh, Durham, where we pair kids in crisis with a rescued horse and a mentor to help them find hope and healing. And so it's really been a kind of, I guess, really my story being redeemed has been a big part of doing it. But my passion is just to make sure kids like me have access to hope and healing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
When you're looking at that process from being a child in that situation, going into a corporate job and being led then to open Hope Reigns,
Yeah.
was it one of those like, oh, it falls in my lap sort of things? Or were there a couple of steps along the way to get to the iteration that you're at now?
Great question. No, there were definitely steps. I think, it's funny. For any of the moms that are listening, I had a career, like I said, in business and marketing that became very empty for me because it just wasn't fulfilling, any real purpose in my life. But I always said, I will never stay home with my kids and I will never drive a minivan. And
limits and boundaries.
Here we go. And God has a great sense of humor because
Yes.
that's what I ended up doing. That was like the big shift and transition, was leaving the corporate world, staying home with my kids when they were really young, and just that really sweet time of being able to be with them. And then probably about 6 years into that, I just started feeling like God had something for me to do, and I didn't know what it was. So I just started to do some research on some things and ended up going to a conference where a women's conference where the speaker asked all of us the question, what is something you used to love to do that you never do anymore? Which is moms. We all put all of those things to the side. And that was the first time that horses popped into my head in over 20 years. And that's what I started to pursue.
20 years.
Over 20 years.
Wow.
I stopped horses when I left college and again pursued business career because I was trying to perform for my dad.
Sure.
And horses popped into my head. So I started riding horses again. And I just thought, oh, maybe I'm supposed to buy a horse. And I ended up finding this book written by a group in Oregon that was doing a similar program. That was right in the recession in 2009. And not a good time to start a nonprofit. But I knew that this is exactly what God was calling me to do. So it was a lot of seeking and praying and, exploring to kind of get there.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. So not just the, okay, I'm led here, but I'm led here and here's my next working step, which leads me to my next step, which leads me to my next step and gets you to where you're going today. Now, if we're talking about Hope Brains as it is today, what
Mhm.
would you say would be like the one sentence what you do?
Mhm. We pair a child in crisis with a rescued horse and mentor to find hope and healing.
Let's lean into that. So, what
Yeah.
does it mean to be a child in crisis?
Yeah. So our kids, gosh, anything that you see on the news,
Mm,
those are the kids that are coming up our driveway. The abuse, the neglect, sexual assault,
mhm.
suicides are just. I mean, the whole mental health crisis in
Yes.
general is just so much worse than it's been. And I think most people listening probably don't know this, but the state of North Carolina, I love our state. We rank in almost last place for providing mental health services for kids and teens.
Oh, wow.
So kids don't have anywhere to go. There aren't therapy. A lot of therapists that have
Sure,
availability,
sure, absolutely.
and the kids we serve, over 50% live at or below the poverty line.
Mhm.
And we do prioritize them because they can't afford, to really see a therapist and get the support that they need. There's a story on WRIL a few years ago about a little girl who, she and her brother were rescued out of just really severe abuse.
Mhm.
The little brother was being locked in a dog cage to be
Mm.
punished. So they're an example of, a child in crisis that we're working with right now.
Sure, absolutely. And it sounds like a child in crisis could come to you from one of those situations that one might see on the news. But how else would a child find their way into Hope
Yeah.
Brains?
Well, we have an amazing statistic. We've been doing 15 years. We've been surveying our families on, the impact that our program's having.
Mhm.
And in 15 years, 100% of our families have said they would refer somebody to Hope Brains. And that's a big part of how
That's
we get. It
incredible.
is very incredible. The University of Kentucky actually is doing a study on us right now,
Yeah.
and they've never seen survey data like we have, so it is really an incredible statistic. So we get a lot of referrals from families.
Mhm.
We also partner with local groups, the Durham Rescue Mission,
Mhm.
Refugee Hope, the Boys and Girls Clubs. And
Mhm.
so we have
Mhm.
partners, DSS. We really try to
Sure.
get the word out.
That would be Department of Social Services.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. So we just really try to get the word out about our services because, Kelly, the one thing I haven't mentioned is that all of our services are free of charge to our families. Everything we do is driven by donations by our
Yes.
donors. And so that's really an important part.
That's incredible. So we have that first piece, the kids in crisis. The next piece in that single statement was mentors.
Yes.
What and who are mentors?
Yeah, so we've got an incredible volunteer force of almost 200 people that come out that really make our ranch work.
Mhm.
From, keeping it clean to, working in our program, helping to take care of the horses. We have kind of a mix of staff and volunteers that are our mentors.
Mhm.
We made a shift about 4 years ago to serving kids weekly.
Mhm.
So a child that comes off our wait list gets weekly sessions for the entire season.
Mhm.
It's really hard to get a volunteer that can come out on a weekly basis. We have some that
Sure.
do it, but we have some part-time staff. We call them our program specialists that really see our step one kids. Those are the kids that come off the wait list,
Mhm.
because we want to have that consistency with the same person. Which I'm sure you're probably familiar yourself. There's a study Harvard did on kids and trauma.
Mhm.
They studied thousands and thousands of kids, and they asked a really interesting question. Why do some children bounce back in the midst of trauma, and
Mm.
why do some kids completely implode, right? They become, and this is their
Yes.
study, they become the homeless, the incarcerated, the drug addicted, the mentally ill. And the number one factor that they found in building resilience, which is what we're after, right?
Mhm.
Resiliency is simply just a way to say being able to bounce back
Mhm.
after something hard happens
Mhm.
in your life. The number one thing they found that kids need is one safe adult relationship in their life.
Wow.
And so that's
Yeah.
really what we do every single day, right, with our mentors. But it starts with the horse first because
Mhm.
they have a story of rescue, and that's the bridge for these kids that are so shut down and hurt by a person.
That makes a lot of sense. That last part that you have is the hope and healing.
Yes,
And yeah, I heard you reference there as well the resilience.
yes.
Tell me about how those come about, come around, are seen when you're working with kids.
Yeah. So we are a faith-based organization, and we
Mhm.
just we believe horses don't heal people. We believe Jesus does. So that's who we are as an organization. And we have people who come to us that believe in what we believe, and people that don't, and that's really great. And we are welcoming of everybody. And I think that we walk it most importantly is I think people come on our property and they feel the love and the compassion
Absolutely.
and just really our ranch is a safe refuge, and I know you've been there.
Yes.
You literally feel it when you drive onto the property.
Absolutely.
It's truly a sanctuary. And so we're always sharing our story with our kids, right? Again, sharing the horse's story of their rescue and being able to look at that horse and say, oh, look, they were starved at one point or they were abused at one point, and they look okay now, right? They're well cared for and they're loved. Maybe there's hope for me too. It's those little inklings, right? And then as a mentor, you build your relationship with your child, and then you share your story, right? I've shared my story in sessions with kids that about my dad. And it really makes a connection and a bridge because they're working with somebody who understands, right? Oh, you've been through something hard too. And then as they move along our program pathway, they go from doing the one-on-one sessions with the mentors to the next step, which is really our peer-based program. Because the big thing parents tell us is their kids are so shut down and they don't have any friendships or relationships.
Absolutely.
And so that's where we really help them start building skills of building relationships with their peers, other kids that have gone through something similar. And our program is oriented around, this is really interesting, there's 4 things that horses teach humans: trust, communication, boundaries, and leadership. And all of our programming is geared around helping kids build skills in those 4 areas.
Oh, that's beautiful. I want to go deeper into those steps, the 4 areas that you're talking about, as well as some of the stories of the rescue horses. I think that's really important for us to get to know those partners even better.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back after this break. You are listening to the Helpers Hour on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. We'll be right back.
This was my first massage. Tracy walked me through the entire process. It made me feel comfortable as possible. We had a delightful conversation and our studio was beautiful. I will definitely be returning for another massage very soon. This is a direct quote from a review from the Whole World Massage, located at 3509 Haworth Drive, Suite 205 in Raleigh. At Whole World Massage and Med Spa, our focus is you. We love working every day with people like you, helping them look, feel, and perform with youthful energy and beauty in mind and body. Call today to see how Tracy can help feel great today. 252-213-4478. 252-213-4478. It's time for you to visit Tobacco Wood Brewing Company with 2 great locations for the perfect award-winning brew and great foods such as chicken and waffles, tacos, barbecue plates, house salads, nachos, wings. That's just mentioning a few of the great items in Oxford at 117 Wall Street and in Durham at 2500 Mediterranean Parkway. Did I mention award-winning beer, the Kilted Eddie, Liquid Luck, Rocket Surgery, the Moose, and the Porter Express? Again, I'm just mentioning my favorites. Find your favorite brew mixed with a great atmosphere and great food at Tobacco Wood Brewing Company today. 2 great locations in Oxford and in Durham. Tobacco Wood Brewing Company is veteran-owned and operated.
Coffee, local coffee shop located in downtown. Oxford is here for the community. Local coffee shops are closed down. Hot coffee latte, cold brew, and my favorite, the espresso shot.
Visit the local coffee shop She Chose Down right now. She Chose Down is located downstairs of the hub in downtown Oxford. PlumServe LLC technicians have over 20 years of experience in plumbing repair and services. They pride themselves in being a local, honest, and professional company. Let them give you a quote today on those needed upgrades in your home. Your choice for plumbing in Creedmoor, Oxford, Henderson, Durham, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Cary, Apex, Stem, Garner, and the Greater Triangle area. Visit their website today to schedule. You can contact them there as well. PlumServeLLC.com. Again, that's PlumServeLLC.com.
Welcome back to the Helpers Hour on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. I'm here with Kim Charette of Hope Reigns, and I just wanted to get into the steps you were talking about there. You just started leaning into it before the break. What are the steps when a child joins
Mhm.
at Help Brains?
Well, we have a whole intake process that they go through because we want to make sure that it's a good fit
Sure.
for the family. One of the unique things that we do is that all of our kids, along with their families, come out for a tour
Mhm.
once we kind of go through the intake process. And the reason that we do that is because we want our kids to say yes to being in our sessions. This is
Mm.
not something that they're forced to do. They didn't have a say in what happened to them, and we want to give them their voice back, and we
I
want
love
them to
that.
know that they get to say yes or no. And so
Mhm.
they get to come out for a tour and meet all the horses and hear about our program, even at 5 years old. And on the very rare occasion, I mean, I think maybe, I can count on one hand the
Mhm.
no's that we get, but
Mhm.
it just means I'm not ready yet, right? I'm not
Sure.
ready to heal yet. So they come out and go through that process. And we have a 3-year, 5-step program pathway.
Mhm.
And what that looks like is the first year for a child that comes off the wait list, they get to come out weekly to our ranch. The first 4 months, they meet every week with the same mentor and horse. And that's where we're really starting to build trust.
Mm.
And they can't start trusting unless they feel safe, right? And so we really want them to be able to come out consistently and build a relationship with the same person. And their horse just becomes their best friend and their partner. And then the second 4 months of the season, they're
Mhm.
still coming every other week to meet with that same mentor. But that's when we start introducing our peer-based program,
Mhm.
which is either Bloom or Build for boys or girls, where they get
Sure.
paired with 2 to 3 other kids or teens their age in similar situations with a mentor. And they do a lot of the same things we do in one-on-one, but we're there to build friendship and connection and really build those relationship and communication and boundary skills.
Mm.
And then they go into group. We add in group programming in the 4th step, the 3rd and 4th step. So
Mhm.
they're coming still with their peer-based group, but we add in a larger group setting, again, more social connection.
Mhm.
And then the last step is called Kids Give Back, and that's our volunteer program.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, what we found is so many of our kids, they don't want to leave, right? Some kids are ready, like they've healed, they want to go join the baseball team or the debate club and really
Sure.
engage back in their life, which is really, really great. But a lot of our kids, we're really their special place, and so they
Mhm.
want to come back and they want to volunteer, and they get to do that with a mentor on a biweekly basis, which is really, really fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it goes from the I'm in a place where I'm in need of services to I am providing
Yes, I'm giving
service
back.
back.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
that's really
giving back.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really beautiful. And you mentioned there that trust in that first step when kids come in, trust,
Yes.
which is one of the 4 things we learn from
Yes.
horses,
Mhm.
is really paramount.
It's very, yeah.
With those other 3 things we learned from horses, where do those come in as they're going through the steps?
Yeah, we have our mentors have at their fingertips about 100 different activities
Mhm.
that they can do with the kid, with the child and the horse that are all geared around trust, communication, boundaries, and leadership.
Oh, beautiful.
Communication, horses are nonverbal animals, right? They
Mhm.
don't talk. So we might spend time, sitting in a paddock and observing how the horses communicate together as a herd.
And a paddock would be a place where multiple
Where
horses
multiple
are together.
horses, yeah, our horses all live, in different herds, the boys
Mhm.
and the girls. And so there's a lot of observing that goes on.
Mm.
There's a lot of us trying to understand what is our horse trying to communicate and what does our horse want to do today, right? Some days horses, maybe they don't want to come out, or maybe they don't want to
Mhm.
be ridden, or so we're really actively listening and really helping kids identify what is my horse communicating to me, right? And then what are we communicating?
Mhm.
Have you ever heard somebody say with a horse, don't let them know you're scared? I don't know
Oh,
if you've ever,
certainly.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Years and years of
yeah,
horses myself,
yeah.
a million
So why do
times.
you think people say that?
For me
Because,
personally, yeah.
yeah,
Oof.
well, because they know you're scared. Like
Oh, do
horses can
they ever?
sense, yeah, they sense our emotions
Mhm.
oftentimes before we even know what we're feeling.
Mm.
So you walk up and whatever energy, whatever you're bringing, they're going to sense and feel. And so that in of itself, a lot of times creates really great conversations and opportunities. And then boundaries, with a 1,000-pound animal,
Yeah. We don't mess around
some
on
pretty
that one.
obvious ones,
Yeah.
right? And then horses, it's interesting. They are always looking for leadership, right? Because
Mm.
there are two things they want to know: am I safe? They want safety too,
Mhm.
and they're always looking for a really strong leader. And they want to know that they're going to have food, and they want to have fun and play. I don't know if you knew,
Yeah.
but horses actually play. Play is a big
Absolutely.
part. And doesn't that sound like kids, right? They want to
Mhm.
know they're safe, they're going to be fed, and they're going to have fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful mirror
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
look into and look back.
Yeah.
I love that you've got so many different ways that you can reach these skills and reach kids. And there's something really interesting that you said there.
Mm.
It's going to be different from, say, some classic therapeutic riding programs.
Yeah.
It's not kids coming in, sitting on a horse,
Yes.
getting off.
Yeah.
You use the word partnership.
Yes.
Can you lean into that a little bit more and tell me why you would use partnership instead of like horse
Yes.
that you're sitting on or
Yeah.
riding program?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Well, I think, we heal in relationship. We're hurt in relationship and we heal in relationship,
Mm.
right? And I think one of the really unique things about our program, and this is what we help other people in our training program, is we have a very unique horsemanship philosophy. It's called healing-based horsemanship.
Mhm.
And it's all about building relationship and connection with your horse and them wanting to connect relationally with our kids, which is very different than a horse that's just physically there because they have to be.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or because you've trained them, to do a certain thing.
Mhm.
And so we really want our horses to want to be with our kids, right? Because the difference when, you're with somebody or something that is there just because they have to be.
Certainly.
It really, really does make a difference. And when your horse wants to be with you, there's just all sorts of amazing things and connections that happen. One of the most powerful things that we do is called joining up, where
Mm.
we'll take a horse maybe in our round pen or one of our smaller arenas,
Mhm.
and the child will lead them around and make a connection together and
Mhm.
partner up together, and then take off the rope halter. And then we say, okay, walk away, right?
Mhm.
And the child will say, well, I don't want to walk away. And when they do walk away,
Mhm.
what do you think ends up happening? The horse ends up following because they're
Mm.
still connected and partnered with the child. And for so many of these kids that have been abandoned, they've been rejected by their own families again and again and again, to have that horse choose to want to be with them is just an incredibly powerful moment.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can absolutely see
It is for
that.
adults. It happens with me and my horse, and I'm always like, "Oh, you still like
Yeah.
me?" Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that it really is a beautiful thing that, well, like you said, when you have kids coming in for that first tour,
yeah.
that supplying consent of like, yes, I do want
Yes.
to be here, and the horse saying, yes, I do want to be here, and how powerful that is for two entities to have chosen to be in
Yeah,
that moment.
yeah, and most of the time, kids choose a horse
Mhm.
based on like maybe a connection that happens or their story,
Mhm.
and sometimes a horse chooses a child. And the
Mm.
girl that I mentioned earlier, who was, experienced so much just abuse, and her little brother was locked in the dog cage when they came out for their intake tour.
Mhm.
We were walking along the fence line, and she was like literally standing in front of her little brother, protecting him, because
Sure.
that's all she's known her entire life.
Mhm.
And she just wasn't sure about this place. And one
Mhm.
of our horses, Hero, made a beeline from his paddock. He was sleeping when they started walking down the fence line,
Yeah.
and made a beeline right for her, put his head over the fence, put it right on her chest, and took a big
Yeah.
sigh and said, "I choose you."
Yep.
And we had to process with her as she got into sessions, because she was the one that called 911. She was the one who got her
Mm.
brother saved out of that dog cage, found a safe adult,
Mhm.
telling her, hey, you're a hero, right? You're a
Mhm.
hero because you've stepped out to help your brother. And the horse that chose her's name was Hero. And out
Yeah.
of 18 horses, like, you can't make that up. You know what I mean?
No,
It's
just
just
beautiful.
those are just God moments that happen that are really powerful.
That's fantastic. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about Hero and about some of the other horses. What are
Mhm.
the stories that they're coming in with?
Yeah. So the last 3 horses that we brought in just in the last year have all been rescued from slaughter auctions.
Mm.
So, unfortunately, horses, they get sold. They get in these, really challenging circumstances where they're
Mhm.
unwanted, and then they just get shipped off to these auctions where they're literally bid on for meat and get sent off to Mexico to, become whatever
Mhm.
whatever that is going to be. And it's a horrible situation for these horses to be in.
Mhm.
And there are people who, kind of like dogs, will go into these euthanasia shelters and rescue them out.
Mhm.
There are people that do that with horses too. And so
Sure.
3 of our guys were frontline rescued, from going to slaughter. We have so many horses that have gone through starvation, which really not only impacts them psychologically, but physically as well. When
Sure.
you go through starvation and abuse, it can really impact their bodies
Mhm.
in a lot of different ways. And then we have a lot of horses that have endured physical abuse. So it really runs the gamut, all of our horses. A lot of them, we have worked with organizations that go and do frontline rescue.
Mhm.
And then we have some owners that have done rescuing, that have
Sure.
donated their horses to us as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it sounds like maybe not, every situation exactly a horse that's gone through the same thing, but animals that have been through a lot and are now, like you said, in this
Yeah.
sanctuary
Yes.
place.
Yeah.
And I can say, for someone who's worked with horses for years and years, incredibly well cared
Oh,
for.
thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful hooves, beautiful coat. I
Yeah.
mean, all of them in fantastic condition,
Yeah.
very clean, very few flies. Like, to think about, even just from the animal perspective, going from that difficult place to this place
Yes.
of, it's going to be comfort, it's going to be calm, you get to choose.
Yes.
Must be incredible to watch in
Yeah,
them.
it is really incredible to watch. And when we get a new horse in, they come in on a 90-day trial, because not every horse can do the work that we do.
Sure,
Some horses,
sure.
my horse, we tried originally, but she was a one person horse, right?
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
so you got to have a horse likes to be around people, because we have probably 60 to 70 equine volunteers. So we have people coming in and feeding and cleaning the paddocks and, doing all the care that you're talking about. So yeah, they're very, very well cared for and very, very fortunate.
I love it. We're going to take another quick pause for a commercial
Great.
break. We'll be right back in a moment. You're listening to the Helpers Hour on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. We'll see you in just a second.
Oliver's Towing and Recovery is a family-owned and operated local business since 1965. This local family business does towing and recovery in and surrounding areas of Granville County. Oliver's Towing and Recovery also does jump starts, lockouts, tire changes, fuel delivery, local and long-distance tows, and medium and heavy-duty towing. Call today if you need a pick-me-up from Oliver's Towing and Recovery at 919-693-2520. That's 919-693-2520, or find them online at oliverstowingllc.com. There's nothing too big or too small for Oliver's Towing and Recovery.
Need a place for a one-stop shop for all your advertising and promotional items? Outside the Box Promotions and Apparel has you covered for screen printing, vinyl, heat transfer, embroidery, plaques, banners, yard sales, laser engraving, and even medals and coins. Outside the Box Promotions and Apparel prides themselves in the quality of their work and has quick turnaround times. A one-stop shop for all your advertising and promotional needs. Call today at 252-213-4072. Visit their website at www.otb27537.com for more information. Outside the Box Promotions and Apparel is your one-stop shop. Outside the Box is located on Industry Drive in Henderson. Are you looking for a fun, learning, and interacting daycare for your child? I invite you to take a tour and learn about what Little Explorers Academy is all about. Little Explorers Academy is located at 616 MLK Junior Avenue in Oxford, a fun learning environment where your child is cared for by their loving staff that treats them like their own. Little Explorers Academy is located at 616 MLK Junior Avenue in Oxford.
At Granville Health System, we're not just a hospital. We're your neighbors, your friends, and your healthcare family. Our community-driven hospital is all about bringing you the quality care you deserve right where you live. From expert medical professionals to state-of-the-art facilities, we've got it all. Granville Health System is committed to providing personalized care that's as unique as you are, because we believe that good health starts at home, and we're proud to be your healthcare partner. Granville Health System, where community and care come together. So for healthcare that's close to home and a hospital that feels like family, choose Granville Health System. Your health, our community, our commitment.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Helpers Hour on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, the Nextdoor Radio app. We are speaking with Kim Charette of Hope Reigns. I really want to talk about how people get involved in the program. I know on one of the breaks we talked about that you're an open enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? How do people get in contact? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So this year we are going to serve about 300 kids total in our
Holy
program.
moly.
Yep.
Okay.
300 total. And this year, out of those 300, 75 were brand new to our program. In this coming year, we're going to actually be able to bring in 80 new kids into our program. So we have clients who return, they move on to the next step, right? And then we have some that move out. And so right now we've got open enrollment. So if anybody listening knows of a child or teen that could benefit from our program, please give us a call or go to our website, hopereigns.org, and they can fill out the application and receive a phone call. But it's unusual. Normally by now we're full out of the 80, but we still have some open spots. And so we really want people to know that is available. And then we just also want people to know then we have to fund those new 80 kids that are coming into our program. And so that's our big need for fourth quarter. We've got about $1.2 million to raise to fund all 80 of these kids that are coming in. So if anybody wants to help a child this Christmas season,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And are y'all a 501c3?
We are a 501c3, so
Beautiful.
all donations are tax deductible. And like I said, our kids and our families don't pay for the services.
And just again, having lived with horses, caring for horses is not the most inexpensive thing, especially if you're doing it well.
Yes, they're expensive, counselors, but very well worth it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Looking at that open enrollment, how long does that last and how long is the season? So people kind of get an idea
well,
of
open
that.
enrollment is open as long as we have spots. So once the 80 spots are full, then we're closed for the year. Now
That
we
makes
do
sense.
put people on our wait list because things happen and people can drop out. But our season runs from March to December. So we take December, we have Christmas at the ranch, and then January and February we are bringing in intaking and moving 300 families around, and hiring some new staff, trainings, all of those types of things. And then our season begins March 1st, and then we'll end again in December.
Beautiful. Now you mentioned Christmas at the ranch. What's that?
That's for it's for our families. It's kind of our
beautiful.
last event that we do, where we have an entire 2 weeks in sessions, where the parents get to make wreaths and kids get to decorate the tree, and they put cute little notes in the stockings for the horses and get to bring them treats. And we share the Christmas story, the story of Jesus being born, and it's just a really beautiful time.
So you're doing so much through just those levels of taking kids through for the 3 years that they can be involved in program and then in service.
Yes.
But then you also have this beautiful event around Christmas.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're doing so much more. You mentioned during one of the breaks training academy. Now you're using that to expand how we're going to be able to be helped in this way. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we've been so burdened about the mental health crisis and how can we serve more kids, because we are getting to the point where we're maxing out our capacity at our ranch. And there's a book that was written about Hope Reigns called Joey, that came out about 6 years ago, that's become a national bestseller. And when that came out, we started to get phone calls from people all over the country and even different parts of the world that asked us, would you help me launch something similar in my community? So we went through a process of kind of beta testing this, and this past year launched our training academy. And so instead of creating a Hope Reigns kingdom, we really want to invest in helping other people launch a similar ministry in their community. So the Essentials is the very first program that we've come out with, which is everything you need to know years 0 to 3 to start up really well, to start up a similar program. And we're really excited. We've got 40 people already that have purchased the Essentials that are in the process. And our hope hope is to launch 200 similar ranches in the next 10 years.
Oh, very
So,
cool.
yeah, we're really excited about it. And they can find out about the Academy at our website as well.
I love that. Hopebrains.com, correct?
Hopebrains.org.
.org,
Yes.
pardon me. Hopebrains.org.
Yes, and it's REINS.
Perfect. Perfect. You mentioned earlier that you have, I think it was 200 active volunteers currently.
Yes.
What sort of things do volunteers do to help? Of course, donating toward making
Yes.
sure that kids can join, but if
Yeah.
somebody has time to donate, what are some things
Absolutely.
they could do?
Yeah, there's so many. The really great thing is that we love to sit down with people. We have a class called Foundations. It's kind of like Hope Brains 101 that you would attend to just learn about all the different volunteer opportunities.
Mhm.
And then we really want to sit down and talk to you about your gifts and your talents and your time and figure out the best place to put people. We have a really amazing ranch hand team that comes out that does all of the maintenance, all the repair work on
Yeah.
the land and all of the infrastructure. We have people that do equine care and equine support, like you mentioned,
Mhm.
really helping to care well for the horses and feeding and all sorts of things. And then we have people in programs that are mentors at all the different levels. So that could be one-on-one with a child, helping with the Bloom and Build group,
Mhm.
helping with group activities, and then even in our Kids Get Back program. So lots of different ways for people to get involved.
I love that. There was one other thing when I toured that was mentioned about volunteers, just moseying around, just
Mhm.
walking around and being available for folks that are, say,
Oh, as a
waiting.
listener. Oh, as a
listener.
listener.
Yes, that's what it was. Can you
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about
So
that?
in our program, one of the things that we hear very consistently from our families, the parents or the caregivers, is they feel very lonely and very disconnected. And I think when a child is going through some crisis, let's just say they were sexually abused,
Sure.
I think people mean well, but they don't really know what to say, and they don't really know how to be there for somebody in that kind of situation.
Mhm.
And so we have listeners that just sit with the family, sit with the parent or caregiver, that just provide a listening ear. We're there to encourage, we're there to pray with them. It's also a really great way where we get to hear back from the parents the difference that they're seeing in their child at home. We'll take our
Yeah.
survey data and then check-ins with our parents, with our listeners, to really be able to provide feedback on how the child is doing. But our parents tell us it's a huge part of their support in our ministry, and that is a volunteer opportunity as well.
Very, very cool. So it's, again, not just a child with a horse, but
Yes.
something so much more than that.
We really serve the whole family because we know
Yeah.
that when the child is hurting, the whole family's hurting. And we have play pals as well that will play with the younger siblings, or
Oh,
if
fun.
there's a sibling that was not impacted by whatever happened,
Mhm.
so they get to have an experience as well.
I love that. Could you
Yeah.
give us a little, like a virtual tour of the ranch, just the basics of what you have on the property itself?
Yeah, so you come up our driveway, and really, once you park in our parking lot and come through the gate, the horses are all right there. It's kind of like a circular space where we have 4 herds of horses. They're kind of broken into units of 6. We have 18
Mhm.
total, and they live very naturally. They have shelter when they want to go into it, and so a paddock would look like having a space for shelter and food and water. And then they have an open gate where they get to go out in the pasture and graze and roam. And then we have an outdoor arena and a round pen where we have sessions that happen. And then we have a very beautiful covered arena
Mhm.
that was donated by a local family whose daughter struggled with addiction and suicidal ideation. She took her own life.
Mhm.
It's called Cameron's Arena, and they really wanted to give back. And that is really one of the larger safe spaces that we have to do sessions, especially in inclement weather or when it's really hot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then, it's funny, our old property, we had a 12 by 12 shed and an outdoor arena and a porta potty. But this
We got to
property,
start fancy.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this property was beyond anything we could imagine. The gentleman that owned it has a 4,000 square foot log cabin on
Yeah.
it he lived in. that we use for offices
Mhm,
and meetings. And then in inclement weather, we can also do sessions in there as well with our families. And then we
Sure.
have a house for our equine manager who lives on property.
Mhm.
When you have 18 horses, we want to
You
make
gotta
sure
have
everybody's
somebody
cared
there.
for.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are really the big spaces, but it's 38 acres, so lots of pasture,
Mhm.
really rolling hills. And when you see the cabin, you're like, are we in Colorado? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? What is going on with this place? So yeah, it's really beautiful. And I just want to invite people, we do tours, which you can sign up
Mhm.
for on our website. If
Mhm.
you're interested in just coming to see what we do and learning more, please don't hesitate to visit our website and sign up for a tour.
Beautiful. Do you have any big volunteer days or big fundraiser days that people could consider putting on their calendar?
Well, we'll have Giving Tuesday. We've got our fourth quarter campaign is starting right now.
Mhm.
The thing that I just wanted to tell people is they can sign up, on our website to get our emails, which is a really
Oh,
great way
wonderful.
to stay connected
Mhm.
and find out what's going on. And then we do a Christmas countdown as we get kids sponsored. We're sharing with people that how many we've gotten sponsored.
Oh,
And
fun.
we've got a $400,000 matching grant right now from generous donors. So really every dollar you give gets doubled to make sure that these kids,
Up to 400,000.
$400,000.
Oh, that'll make such a
Yeah,
difference.
yeah. So
Absolutely. Very, very cool. I'm blown away about how many things you are able to provide on the ranch itself.
mhm.
And I'm thinking of another piece that we haven't even mentioned yet. I believe you have some summer camps.
Yes.
Again,
Yeah.
so much you're already doing, and yet you
Yeah.
found another way to serve the community. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit
Well,
about that.
summer camp is actually we used to in the early days we had some spots that were open to the public, but
Mhm.
it's now part of our program.
Mhm. Mhm.
Summer camp is the transition between step 1 and step 2 in the
Oh,
year.
beautiful.
So for new kids that are waiting to get in, it's their first experience out at the ranch where they get to have a safe, really great experience for a week,
Mhm.
meeting other kids and horses. And then for the kids that are transitioning from step 1 to step 2, it's a really great time in July for them to be able to come out and have a week-long experience. And then we also do what do we call our teen retreat,
Mhm.
which is over 2 days. It's not a sleepover, but it's a 2-day
Sure.
that's just for teens. And in camp, we try to put everybody with about the same age because,
Mhm.
little kids like to do different things in camp than middle
Sure.
schoolers and teens. And so everybody kind of has their own summer camp opportunity. And water day and painting the horses are the two most popular things. So
Water day and painting the
painting the
horses.
horses, yes.
I have seen painting the horse. Of course, a non-toxic paint.
Of course,
Of
non-toxic paint.
course.
Yes.
All the braids.
Yes.
Yep.
You gotta do it. It's so fun. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a blast. Again, just blown away with everything you're doing. For folks that are listening and they know a child that they might want to refer in, you said
Yes.
call, go on the website.
Mhm.
Now, my thought is knowing a child in crisis, perhaps being very close to that child, some people feel really scared or afraid
Yes.
to make that call.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that really touched my heart when I contacted Hope Brains
Yeah.
was that there is a person
Yes.
going to talk to you. You don't
Yes.
end up on a random
Yes.
list. It's not 50 emails.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that personal touch piece?
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed at what you've done to make
Mm.
sure that's there
Mm.
so that if someone comes in fearful, they immediately get that connection.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for saying that. That was something that's been really important to us that we make
Mm.
sure that when you call, unless it's late at night or outside of work hours, the phone does ring to whoever it is you're trying to reach. So
Mhm.
if Joanne, who's our intake manager, is available, not on the phone, and you call, she's going to pick up your call.
Mhm.
You leave a message, she's going to call you back. Our donors, same thing. Like we're very much a relationship, personal connection. When people make a gift, we actually call them on the phone. We don't just
Yeah.
mail them their letter to say, oh, here, you made your donation. We actually still call all of our donors and pick up the phone and thank them, right? And one of the biggest questions that we ask them is, why did you give? Why did you give?
Mm.
And 9 times out of 10, they have some story of trauma themselves or their child, or they know somebody, or, there's a reason that they're giving back. And then same thing with our volunteers. We
Mhm.
want to have that human connection so that people can get to the right place, get their question answered, and really find out, gosh, is this a place that I really want to be?
Mhm.
And the Saturday tour that we do is just really informative. It could be for if you're considering to be a family, if you're
Mhm.
considering
Mhm.
donating or volunteering. And then, if any of our donors want to come out, they just call our staff and come on out and do a tour. And it's really a wonderful thing.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's wonderful. Another piece on that, making sure that everybody's individualized. You said specifically when your volunteers come in, making sure that their skills are matched with the different
Yes.
things you have available. I know that I spoke with some of your staff about the requirements of being a volunteer. In some
Yes.
places you go, you volunteer, it's like, you have to do this on this day, come at this time, that's the only
Mm-hmm.
time. And it
Mm-hmm.
sounded like you've built in some flexibility there
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that everybody is cared for, to make sure that everyone is able to give the amount they're able to give
Yes.
and it aren't trying to push themselves too far or be pushed out.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. There's regular things like the horses need to be fed at certain times. And
Absolutely.
obviously we have programs that, happen at a certain time. But we have a lot of flexibility around trainings and equine care.
Mhm.
And when you join as a volunteer to Hope Brains, you're joining on a team. So it's not like you as this individual is coming to do something. You're going to have, what we have found that works so good is that you come consistently on the same day,
Mhm.
in a time period,
Mhm.
and you're meeting other people that you're volunteering with who become your friends, right? And you make
Yeah.
those connections and relationships, and they end up doing things even outside of Hope Brains. And
Mhm.
and we really love the team mentality, because then you really feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself.
And once again, relationships healing.
Yes, it is
Very cool.
healing.
I love
So
that
many of our
thoroughfare.
volunteers, again, they have been people that have been hurt
Mhm.
in their own life, right? And it's funny, we have mostly women. We need more men. I will tell you, we do need
Mm.
more men to come and volunteer and help. And we do have guys that come and volunteer.
Mhm.
But so many of these women, I think they're living their little girl horsey dreams
Yes.
out at our ranch, and it's so fun. But they will always say, our volunteers, I healed here, right?
Mm,
They come to help, but that they end up experiencing their own healing as well.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's take one more break. We'll be right back with the Helpers Hour on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. Hi, this is Kellie Syfan with Clove Hitch Behavior. I focus on changing behavior while protecting the spirit. My big focuses are on helping with tantrums and meltdowns, fears and phobias, and behaviors resulting from trauma. You can have one-on-one sessions with me at my farm in Franklinton, or I have a tantrums and meltdowns library available at any time. When you have access, it's for a lifetime. You're going to have access to the walkthrough videos, to a vetted resource library with resources from around the world, as well as professionals around the country. From that, you'll be able to figure out what you can do for your family to make the changes that you want to see to reach the goals that matter most to you in your life. For more information, you can go to www.chbehavior.com or call or text 919-579-6192.
In an accident? Call Fred's.
Need a tow? Call Fred's.
Locked out of your car? Call Fred's.
Flat tire? Call Fred's.
Stuck in the mud? Call Fred's.
Ran out of fuel? Call Fred's.
Call Fred's Towing and Transport Inc. for all of your towing needs. Also, Fred's Towing and Transport wants you to pay attention and slow down and move over. It's the law. Fred's Towing and Transport asks that if you see a tow truck, police, fire, EMS, or DOT on the side of the road, please slow down and move over.
Hi, I'm Frank Sossaman. A child's zip code or their family's income should not determine their educational opportunity. As your representative, I was proud to support landmark legislation that expands educational opportunities for all students in North Carolina and allows families to have the freedom to choose an education that best fits their child's need. Vote Frank Sossaman for NC House of Representatives Tuesday, November the 5th, and ensure a quality education for every child.
Paid for by committee to elect Frank Sossaman. As the leaves turn and the air chills, Island Breeze HVAC is here to ensure your home stays warm and safe. Our comprehensive heating maintenance includes carbon monoxide testing, safeguarding your family from the silent threats that come with the season. Our expert technicians are dedicated to keeping your home cozy and your air clean and safe. This fall, there's only one company to call.
Easy breezy, Island Breezy. Call 919-693-HVAC.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Helpers Hour on Nexstar Radio, nexstarradio.com, and the Nexstar Radio app. We are finishing up our talk with Kim Charette of Hope Reigns. I want to really lean into, for this last section, how do we get in contact? The best ways to make a donation, the best ways to reach out, websites, social media, phone numbers, all those really important things.
Yes. Well, our website is really the primary, and it's Hope Reigns, REINS.org. Our telephone number is 919-345-4914 for anybody who wants to call. And our social, I think, is Hope Reigns NC, but I'm not 100% sure because I'm not a big
do some
social media person. But if you just put in Hope Reigns, it'll come up, and that's really the best way to make a donation. Our whole intake process and volunteer process is on there.
Perfect. So really leaning into the website as the place to start.
Yep.
Can you give that phone number one more time?
Sure. 919-345-4914.
Love it. I love how many different things you have available and the folks that you have in place ready to connect with people who want to make a donation, who want to volunteer. For everyone listening today, what's one thing you would want to leave them with? If they heard nothing else this entire talk, if they remembered nothing else, what's something you'd want to leave with? And take your time.
Yeah, I think that I would just share, whether it's personally or maybe it's for a child or somebody that there's hope, right? That there is nothing, and I've seen for 15 years the most challenging, heartbreaking stories come up our driveway, and we say, God, we don't know how you're going to fix this, right? Because we can't fix anybody, and He always does, and there's nothing beyond God's ability to redeem and heal. And that there's hope, and even going to our website and watching some of the videos and reading the stories about our kids is, hopefully inspiring and some light that people can hold on to in the midst of things that are really hard.
Absolutely. I love that. As we are wrapping up our conversation, I know that Hope Reigns has a number of, what is the word? Number of principles that you work through and work by. I believe there's 5. Is that correct?
Yeah, our core values.
Your core values.
Yep.
Would you mind sharing your core values?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And these are really, they don't hang on a wall. We actually, our volunteers know these, and we really live them out. It really is what our culture is all about. The first one is Jesus heals. And then grace is our default, because we feel like when we make grace our default, then we feel safe to share our story, which is the third one. And then the fourth one is, oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember it.
It's
because
okay.
you asked me.
It's okay. This is one of those
Grace
times.
is our default, share our story, be authentic, be authentic and make it better.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yep.
Well, I tell our listeners all the time, if I have a way to mess up my own name, I will.
Oh my gosh, seriously, I should know these.
It's part of life. Well, and that's the beautiful thing about this conversation is we didn't sit here pre-plan, write everything.
We did not.
It's just from the heart. And sometimes from the heart means that we forget something
Yes.
for a quarter of a second.
There you go.
That's
Well, and
beautiful.
it probably has to do with the fact that I'm 56.
Yeah.
There you go.
This has been such a pleasure. Go ahead and give your website and your phone number one more time just to make
Yeah.
sure everybody's got it.
Sure. Hope Reigns, HOPEREINS.org, 919-345-4914.
Beautiful. I encourage everyone, as I said, I personally have gone and taken a tour. Sign up for a tour. If nothing else, just enjoy the serenity and peace
Yes.
of experiencing this beautiful place, doing beautiful work for our community. Kim, thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
you. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Kelly, for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you to all our listeners. This has been the Helpers Hour on Nexstar Radio, nexstarradio.com, and the Nexstar Radio